Okay, folks, I've been joined by, excuse me, I've been joined by Michael Brooks. I need a tea or something. Michael Brooks of the Majority Report, and Two Dope Boys and a podcast. Mike, how's it going, man?
It's great, man. Pleasure to be talking with you. Are you just talking about the view or something?
Oh, no, no, I was talking about,
I'm just messing with
yeah,
you.
no, I'm talking about something in my throat, man. I got some, I need a coffee or something. But anyway, dude, I want to talk to you briefly, man. I know you've got to get on the road, but I want to talk to you about what happened in Nevada. And not the mechanics of it, because we've kind of covered the mechanics of it ad nauseum on the show. I've had a couple of guests come on and explain it in great detail, but really the fallout, right? The fallout and the behavior, and hold on, Bernie Sanders folks, because I'm going to talk to you about the behavior portion after this. But the behavior of some Bernie Sanders supporters there, but clearly the actions of the chair, in my opinion, and then Debbie Wasserman Schultz wading in, and instead of being an arbiter of the conversation, she took a side in the conversation. What are your thoughts on that, and what are some of the observations you guys have made on that?
Well, three quick things. But first of all, you got to start every conversation that involves Debbie Wasserman Schultz by acknowledging that she's the absolute worst. So that's just number one. That's always up front. Debbie
Right.
Wasserman Schultz is the worst in every possible way. The other important points are, I think, and this is a tricky point. So I want to kind of break it down subtly here.
Okay.
People should not be, no matter how angry they are about various points of this process, there's two things that I think we need to be, or actually three things. Two things we need to be real about, one thing that's interesting to me, and we'll see how it plays out. One is that in spite of all of the bullshit and all of the unfairness and all of the rigging and the machine and everything else that's definitely there,
Mm-hmm.
Hillary is ahead of Bernie, and that's real. And it's not, that's not untrue. Now, the other thing to take away from this is that this dude starts as an unbelievable underdog. So the takeaway from this election is a 75-year-old Democratic Socialist has won 20 states and is the future of American politics, and not Hillary Clinton. And there's momentum here. This should not be a time of resignation and depression. It can be anger, it can be rage, it can be organizing for the future, but this is a time of enormous political possibility and necessity in this country, because we all know how horrible and unsustainable things are.
Right.
Number three, I am concerned about the Bernie Sanders campaign turning into a question and a focus on process. I wanted to get back into the big issues that have driven this movement to begin with. Now, that's my criticism. On the flip side, what I think is possibly good here is that if some of this is coming from the top of the Sanders campaign, and this is the strategy they're pursuing, I think in the short term, it's not as inspiring and as important as I think is maybe talking about, inequality, climate,
Right.
and all the issues that have kind of animated the campaign. But on the other hand, if what they are doing is showing to the Clinton campaign and to the machine that they have a weaponized base, and I use that word advisedly, and I think we all know that obviously there should be no physical violence or threats of physical violence or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if the main point is I have a movement of people who I can activate at any time to call you on your bullshit and stop your nonsense, that is profoundly important, because we need to make sure that, we can have all these, debates about the general election and this or that. That's fine. But this isn't, if Bernie Sanders moves towards a kind of cursory support of Hillary Clinton, which I think, I'll be in the cursory support camp, but it is very important to say, like, this is a friendly fire that you'll get the whole time. And part of that is showing that I have millions of people who I can activate at any time. And if it's complaining about, a delegate process in Nevada, it can be just as activated during any step in the campaign, when you flip on TPP, when you try to do a fake center on a criminal bill, on crime, and certainly if you're in office and you pursue the kind of agenda that we all know she's going to pursue.
Right.
So that's actually very, very important.
I like that. I like that. Let me jump in there. I like the fact that you're saying that that they should be afraid. Who said that? Eddie
Yep.
Glaude. And when I say afraid, I mean politically afraid, not
Yes,
afraid for their
politically
lives.
afraid.
Right. Eddie
That's like
Glaude.
Nas said after he put out Ether. He said, "We're not talking about killing anybody. I'm just saying Jay-Z is whack rapper. That's all we're saying."
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That might have gone. I think my audience got that. I think my audience got that. I'm pretty sure half of my audience
Well,
got that.
that's dope. That is, I guess that's on the Dope Boys portfolio. But I hope everybody got that.
Yeah, I hope everybody got that too. But with
yeah.
but Eddie Glaude, Professor Eddie Glaude, I know you guys had him on the Majority Report, and I was jealous. I'm like, I got to get him on my show. That's why
He's amazing. I'm so glad you got him.
But he said that we have to scare them to the core, scare the Democratic Party to the core, and if Bernie Sanders is able to rally his base to be that type of effective political bargaining tool and that political watchdog almost for policies present and future, then that is actually something positive. You're right. That's something positive that can come out of this past weekend. Go ahead. Tell me more, man.
No, I think that that's really exactly it. And I think that this is the zone that we need to be talking in. The choice of either, a Bernie or bust thing, which I just don't see as strategic. I've heard a lot of, very compelling emotional and moral arguments for that, but I haven't heard a smart political strategic argument for that. But I've also, on the flip side, this whole let's just have party unity. Well, no, because we don't have unity. And this isn't personal. This is just that we are in politics to do different things. I'm in politics because of probably at its base economic justice. I mean, a variety of other things, but that's probably what animates me to my core. So it's a different mission. And I know people personally, including very directly in my own family, when I was, like a kid, who were impacted by things like, welfare reform and stuff like that. So this isn't just like some abstraction. These are very real things, and we're here to do different things. And we can ally and work on different things. And if Hillary Clinton wants to, raise the minimum wage, or if she wants to support something like the Medicare buy-in or something like that, which she's talked about, or if she wants to advocate for children, excellent. I'll be her top ally. I have no personal hatred or animus towards her. But we don't have unity. This is not a unified project.
No,
and
not
whether
at
you
all.
vote for her or you don't, this is a division, and that does not end with this election. It gets sharpened and deepened, because ultimately what we need to do in American politics is totally marginalize the right and have a fight for the future between actual progressives and the neoliberals. That's where the battle terrain is, and that's going to determine.
Let me jump in there and ask you this question, because
please.
in my mind, originally, like before I would say 4 months ago, in my mind, marginalizing the right and making them essentially irrelevant to the national political conversation through Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is helping us do that. So thank you, Donald Trump. Doing that, I felt that would do
He's
exactly.
doing a tremendous job.
Yeah, no, I mean he's this is the best job he's ever done in his ever best life. You know how he talks, but with him doing that, you have you're left with Hillary Clinton, and there's the fear. There's two schools of thoughts. You have those progressives who believe that Hillary Clinton getting into power would be the death knell for progressivism because of her co-opting the name progressive, the word progressive, and really putting the end to the DLC process, right? The DLC momentum and movement and project really was there to redefine what it was to be a Democrat. And now this last portion of it is redefining what it is to even be a progressive. And there's a lot of people who would disagree with you and say that it is not going to do anything but destroy progressivism to get Hillary Clinton. Now, originally, I agree with you. I felt that even with a Hillary Clinton in office, that we would be able to continuously every single day fight her from the left as progressives. But what do you say to that other argument that says, no, with Hillary Clinton in power, she's going to crush progressives, co-opt progressives, and essentially end the progressive movement?
Well, I think that that's maybe affording her a little too much power, frankly. But I think, look, here's my thing, and I guess there's 3 quick points on this. First of all, we got to look at these things a little bit beyond just the individual person that's in power. So as an example, the things that Bill Clinton was able to do in the 1990s in terms of moving the Democratic Party very radically to the right, there was a context for that. I mean, the left was incredibly marginalized at that point in American politics. The stock market was booming, and there was a very broad appetite, wrongly, but a broad appetite for what he was doing. So I think that we got to recognize that the context has changed. When you have a governor like Andrew Cuomo, who is the worst, and I'll add him to the Debbie Wasserman Schultz level, truly like a pro-marriage equality Republican with tremendous corporate aptitude. He banned fracking in New York. He signed $15 minimum wage, and he signed family medical leave because that's the nature of the institution he's accountable to on some level. So we got to look at the context of the parties right now. Number 2, I actually think, and this is where I'll contradict myself a little bit, this is where the personality actually does matter. I think, frankly, as much, and I've made this distinction with a lot of people, and I know we've talked about it, Barack Obama as a leader and as a person just holding that office is, in my opinion, an enormously appealing and engaging and, person who I have a lot of admiration for. But, policy-wise, he's a neoliberal dude, and I'm not a neoliberal guy. And, I think that the fact that a lot of people have a innate trust and like for Barack Obama has actually, in some ways, it's softened. It's like, well, can TPP really be that bad? Because, Barack's a good dude. There's going to be none of that with Hillary Clinton, okay? Like, no one outside, I mean, I guess apparently there's some people on Twitter who are
Here's where it's already happened. It's already happened amongst her supporters, right? Her base that is pushing her.
Her supporters are insane. Her supporters are nuts. Her supporters. I mean, I'm not talking about like normal people out voting. I'm not commenting on that. But her people on social media and everything else have been in a hermetically sealed bubble and drinking the Kool-Aid from day one. And I think that we have to just accept that. There's obviously some. And again, I will.
I heard you say that the other day when I was on your show. You said you're separating the online presence of Hillary Clinton from voters who probably have no idea what's happening on social media and the blogosphere. And so you believe that the people who are just rank and file going to vote and paying no attention, you don't believe that they would go along with the TPP just like her supporters online would go.
Oh, I would make a little bit of a distinction. I was trying to say, actually, frankly, for all supporters, I think we need to be like, because it's just most people, regardless of how much they follow politics or how they engage, are not doing stuff on social media around politics, right? So it's important to just kind of keep that perspective in mind.
Yeah.
I think that, generally, I think that that kind of explanation applies actually more to progressives who are pretty engaged, who might give, Hillary Clinton less of the benefit of the doubt than Barack Obama. I know some people like this. I know some people who I would describe as kind of mainstream, sort of liberalish Democrats, but they are pretty good on things like TPP, and they have much less innate trust for Barack Obama.
Yeah.
I think for most people who voted for Hillary Clinton, it's, it's name recognition, it's path of least resistance. And, I don't know. I think, honestly, activating those people is a broader project that we're all involved in. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be dependent on election cycle. The last thing I would just say, too, is like, my political maturation happened under George W. Bush. I wasn't old enough to vote yet, but I was absolutely 100% convinced as like a World Bank protesting teenager that Ralph Nader, anybody who wasn't voting for Ralph Nader was, plugged into the matrix and stupid at best and morally deranged at worst, and that there was no difference between Al Gore and George W. Bush. And the thing is that I don't go back to that time and blame Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader was still he's pretty much right about everything. And Gore at that time was not the guy who people know today. He was actually pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But I then saw, but then I saw, George W. Bush take it to another level. And then all of a sudden, well, politics became hijacked by, oh my God. Now all of a sudden, people like me and people like you, we got to kind of align with the whack people to just stop complete disasters. And I got to say, like, just on the trade front, everybody points out that Obama has a bad record on trade. Hillary's obviously going to flip on TPP. Things are so bad under Bush that we don't even remember the fact that he pushed through things like CAFTA in the Caribbean and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's such a cascade of disasters.
Yeah.
You can't even keep track of that shit. So it's a gamble. Maybe under a Republican, maybe there's a revitalized progressive movement. Maybe Donald Trump randomly does some good things. But to me, it's like I'm willing to make gambles and risks in my personal life.
Yeah.
Which maybe I shouldn't say publicly, but I'm just saying, I think, when you go to an electoral standpoint, it's too many hypotheticals for me. And again, if there was a strategy, if someone was like, look, we got to run a third-party candidate, and they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how, and, maybe Hillary's going to lose, but it will lead to this, and it was a real argument.
Yeah.
But all I hear is hypotheticals, and nothing changes the fact that everything just needs to keep going as it is in terms of pushing this agenda. And if you think it's going to get, bludgeoned under Hillary Clinton, it's going to, by definition, get bludgeoned under any Republican. And I think maybe close that space where at least, because in 3 years, man, under a Republican, you could have these depressing conversations with people like, oh, man, I wish we had Hillary Clinton. Versus for 3 years being like, oh, my God, this is fucking ridiculous. Why didn't we elect Bernie Sanders?
Yeah. So
you know what I'm saying?
Hey, man. Hey, what's going on this weekend, man? Where are we linking up at? Where am I meeting you at?
Oh, dude, you're gonna come into Brooklyn, and I got some bars I got to show you, and some people. I want you to hopefully meet Phil as well. You got to meet my two dope boys, co-conspirator, and some other good New York people. And I just got to say, man, I always like everybody involved in Benjamin Dixon Show, like the people that I connect with on Twitter, and your co-hosts and everybody. Like, you're all doing really. I mean, I'll talk like Trump. Y'all are doing a tremendous job, and look, frankly, it's great. From a really self-interested standpoint, as a comedian, I'm considering voting for Trump. But that's a whole other thing.
Dude, let me tell you, it would be good for our business, for liberal media and comedians. It would be great. Hey, Michael Brooks from the Majority Report.
And as I say that, everybody burning your bus. Trump, baby. Let's do this. Let's grow our businesses.
There we go. Hey, man, thanks for joining me. Michael Brooks from the Majority Report and Two Dope Boys in the podcast. Hey, man, I'll see you in New York.
All right, see you soon. Thanks, man.